Hello everyone, this is day one of my 7-day dry fast, and in this video I want to document what I am experiencing from a physiological and neurological perspective. Let's go. First of all, this is not medical advice. This is a self-observation experiment where I track sensations, energy levels, cognition, and emotional state. At this stage, my body is still operating mostly on stored glucose and glycogen. Because of that, energy levels are relatively stable and there is no severe physical stress yet. Hunger is present, but it's intermittent, not constant. This is expected. Hunger hormones like ghrelin tend to rise in waves rather than continuously. Mentally, I feel more alert and focused. These could be related to a mild increase in stress hormones like cortisol and adrenaline, which sharpen attention in the short term. I also notice increased sensory awareness. Sounds, body signals, and breathing feel more noticeable. This often happens when the nervous system shifts toward a more sympathetic state, increasing vigilance. Hydration wise, the body at this point is still relying on intracellular and metabolic water, so there is no acute dehydration yet. However, the body is clearly entering a conservation mode. Emotionally, I feel calm and stable. No anxiety, no irritability, which suggests that for now the nervous system is still well regulated. From a biological standpoint, this phase is about adaptation. The body is assessing the new conditions and beginning to reallocate resources. I'll continue to track energy levels, mental clarity, physical sensations, emotional stability, and I'll document how these parameters change over time. This is day one. I'll see you tomorrow for day two. This is day two of my 7-day dry fast, and today I want to describe the changes I'm noticing from a psychological and neurological perspective. By this point, the body is likely significantly reducing its glycogen stores. As glycogen depletes, associated water is also released, which may explain early weight loss and a slightly drier sensation in the body. Energy levels today feel lower than day one, but more stable. There are fewer energy spikes, and movements feel slower and more deliberate. This is consistent with the body beginning to conserve energy. Hunger sensations are less intense, but more predictable. They appear at certain times, then fade. This suggests hormonal regulation is adjusting rather than escalating. Mentally, I feel clear but quiet. Thoughts are slower but more controlled. This could be related to reduced glucose availability to the brain and a gradual shift toward alternative fuel usage. I also notice dryness in the mouth, skin, and breathing. This is expected as external water intake is absent and the body is relying more on metabolic water production. Heart rate feels slightly lower at rest. I am more aware of posture and breathing. This could indicate a shift in automatic nervous system balance, favoring efficiency over intensity. Emotionally, I remain stable. There is less emotional reactivity and more neutrality. This suggests that, at least for now, stress levels are manageable. Overall, day 2 feels like transition phase, less about shock, more about adaptation. Another process often discussed at this stage is autophagy. As external energy and nutrient intake remains absent, the body may begin to increase its internal recycling mechanism, breaking down damaged proteins and old cellular components to reuse their building blocks. This is not something that can be felt directly, but it may contribute to the sense of internal cleanup mental simplicity, and a reduced unnecessary activity. From a psychological perspective, this represents a shift from growth and storage toward maintenance and efficiency at the cellular level. I'll continue monitoring energy cognition and physical signals closely. This is day 2. I'll see you tomorrow for day 3. This is day 3 of my 7-day drive fast, and today I want to focus on what I'm noticing in terms of cellular processes and cognitive changes. By this stage, the body is likely operating with very low glycogen reserves, and energy metabolism is shifting more heavily toward fat based fuel pathways. At the cellular level, prolonged fasting is often associated with increased autophagy, a process where the body begins to recycle damaged or unnecessary cellular components. This is not something I can directly measure, but based on current scientific understanding, day 3 is commonly considered a point where this process may become more active. Physically, movements feel slower but more efficient. There is less unnecessary motion, less impulse. Everything feels deliberate. The body appears to be in a resource optimization mode. What stands out most today is the mental state. My mind feels noticeably sharper and clearer. Thoughts are more structured. There is less internal dialogue and less distraction. Decision making feels simpler, almost automatic. This clarity could be related to a more stable energy supply to the brain from ketone bodies as well as reduced fluctuations in blood sugar. There is a sense of mental quiet, but not fatigue. Sensory perception also feels heightened. Sounds, light, and internal body signals are more pronounced. This suggests increased neurological sensitivity and awareness. Emotionally, I feel neutral and composed. There's minimal emotional reactivity, and stress feels distant rather than immediate. From a biological perspective, day 3 feels like a point of systematic adaptation, where the body is no longer resisting the conditions but functioning within them. I will continue to observe cognitive clarity, physical energy, emotional stability, and overall physiological signals. This is day 3. I'll see you tomorrow for day 4. Hello everyone, this is day 4 of my 7-day drive fast, and today feels noticeably different compared to day 2 and day 3. From the moment I woke up, I felt lighter. There is more energy, more mental drive, and a strong sense of focus and attentiveness. Instead of resisting the day, I actually feel motivated to work, to think, and to plan. During days 2 and 3, I experienced periods of low energy, sluggishness, and general fatigue. Today, that heaviness is mostly gone, and there is a clear sense that my body has adapted to the fasting state. Cognitively, my focus feels sharp and sustained, with fewer intrusive thoughts and better task engagement. This may be related to more stable reliance on ketone based energy in the brain rather than fluctuating glucose. Because of this improvement, reaching day 7 now feels realistic. Earlier in the process, that felt uncertain, but today it feels achievable. Physiologically, this phase is often described as a period of deep internal recycling and metabolic optimization. Extended fasting is associated with increased cellular cleanup processes where the body prioritizes efficiency, repair, and resource reuse rather than growth. Over these 4 days, I have been losing approximately 1 kilogram per day, which is likely a combination of water release, glycogen depletion, and tissue breakdown for energy. One noticeable sign of this state is that my urine has become very dark in color, reflecting a highly concentrated fluid state under dry fasting conditions. This is simply an observation I'm documenting. As the day moves toward the evening, my energy remains relatively high and I stay mentally active. Although at times I notice mild nausea that comes and goes. From a physiological perspective, this can occur as the body continues adjusting its metabolic pathways. Emotionally, I feel stable, grounded, and calm, with a growing sense of confidence in the process. Day 4 feels like a turning point with less struggle and more cooperation between body and mind. This is day 4, and I will see you tomorrow for day 5. Today is day 5 of my 7-day dry fast, and I'm recording this in the evening. From the morning, it was noticeably harder to get out of bed. There was a clear sensation of internal compression, almost as if the body was pulling inward and conserving everything. One of the strongest physical sensations today has been extreme dryness. My mouth feels significantly drier than on day 2, 3, 4. The dryness is intense and persistent, which reflects how deeply the body is now operating in a water conservation state. Throughout the day, my energy has been very context dependent. When I need to work or focus, I can activate myself and perform with decent clarity and attention. But when there is no immediate task or stimulation, my energy drops sharply and I feel physically weak and depleted. This suggests that the body is prioritizing essential functions and limiting unnecessary output. From a physiological perspective, day 5 is often described as a phase of deep internal repair and metabolic efficiency, with glycogen fully depleted and fat metabolism dominant. The body increasingly relies on stored tissue for energy while minimizing waste. This state is commonly associated with continued cellular cleanup processes where damaged components are broken down and recycled for fuel. Fat oxidation remains high, and the system is operating in what could be described as a clean burning mode, focused on survival and internal maintenance rather than growth. Subjectively, the body feels lighter and more compact, as if excess has been stripped away. Some people associate this phase with improvement in skin tone, reduced inflammation, and a general sense of internal cleanness, although these effects are gradual rather than immediate. There are also theories suggesting that prolonged fasting environments may support regenerative signaling pathways, including those related to long term tissue health, but these processes are complex and not directly measurable in real time, unfortunately. Emotionally and mentally, today feels more inward focused and restrained. There's less excess movement, less desire to talk, and more internal awareness. Day 5 feels demanding, controlled, and quiet. It is not easy, but it feels purposeful. This is day 5, and I continue observing closely as the process goes on. Day 6 of my 7-day dry fast. I woke up very early to watch a boxing match today, and surprisingly, getting up didn't feel heavy despite the lack of sleep. Because of that, I experienced mild nausea and a brief gag reflex after waking, and similar sensations appeared during the day when I moved too suddenly. After the match, I went to the beach. I swam twice in warm water despite the cool air, ran lightly along the sand, and spent several hours there with friends before returning home. Later, a strong need for a sleep came over me, so I took a 2-hour nap. After that, the rest of the day was extremely calm and relaxed at home. So, and compared to the previous 5 days, guys, today feels noticeably lighter. During the first days, there was constant pressure around my head, almost like compression. And today, that sensation has completely disappeared. Mentally, I feel clear, stable, and fully myself. Physically, sustained effort is clearly harder. I can still activate when needed, but prolonged activity trains me quickly. Short bursts are possible, but fatigue comes fast, especially with running, or sudden movement. There is a strong instinct to conserve energy and avoid unnecessary strain. From a physiological perspective, day 6 is often associated with deep conservation and internal purification. Energy metabolism is fully shifted away from glucose, relying on fat and recycled internal substrates. Digestive activity is minimal, which may allow the gut and related systems to focus on repair rather than processing. Cellular cleanup likely continues, breaking down inefficient or damaged components and reusing them for fuel. Many people report heightened mental clarity at this stage, a calm, elevated focus, possibly linked to stable ketone availability and reduced inflammation. Emotionally, today feels quiet, neutral, and inward with very little internal noise. I also had a deeper reflection. When we talk about psychological blocks, fears, and invisible barriers that stop people from taking risks or making big decisions, maybe it's not always purely psychological, maybe some of it is physiological. Accumulated toxins, chronic inflammation, hidden infections, or damaged cells may subtly influence how we think, feel, and act. In a deep fasting state, when the body strips itself down to essentials and cleans internally, perception itself seems to change. If harmful cells, pathogens, and metabolic waste are reduced, what if some limitations weaken too? What if after deep internal renewal, a person naturally feels more open, courageous, and decisive? This doesn't feel mystical to me, it feels logical. The body and mind are deeply connected. Clean the internal environment and the operating system becomes clearer. Today feels less like struggle and more like controlled flow. The body moves slowly and efficiently, and the mind is calm, reflective, and open. This was day 6. Day 6 feels very close to a full internal reset. See you tomorrow on the last day. Day 7, guys, rebirth state. Day 7 is the hardest. Energy is extremely low, and the body is clearly running on its final reserves. Without water, the dryness becomes intense. Dry lips, dry mouth, slow and heavy movements. There's almost no desire to do anything. Even simple actions feel demanding. This is a state of deep conservation where the body minimizes everything it can. On a physical level, it can feel like you are slowly dying. The body weakens, signals become quieter, and discomfort becomes constant. At the same time, there's a clear awareness of the value of this practice. On a cellular level, deep breakdown, recycling, and reorganization are taking place. The body is operating in its most extreme but also most efficient survival mode. There are moments when it becomes truly difficult. Distractions do not work, techniques do not help. At that point, the only option is to let go, to remind yourself that you are not only a body, that you are more than a physical shell, you are spirit. And when you walk this path not alone but with God, the burden becomes lighter. Not because the difficulty disappears, but because meaning and inner support appear. 7 days without food and water is an extremely demanding practice. Relying on physical strength alone is not enough. Faith in something greater than yourself becomes essential. Not only belief, but confidence. Confidence that you will endure and that you are not alone. Without this inner foundation, the practice can become dangerous. In this state, a deep peace emerges. The mind becomes quiet. Discipline feels natural rather than forced. The connection between body and consciousness becomes very clear. This is not euphoria, but a calm, grounded clarity. Day 7 is not about physical strength. It is about surrender, about trust, about rebirth. Merry Christmas to everyone and a Happy New Year. Take care.